Good morning, YouTube channel. You are now tuning in to another brand new episode of. Good morning. Um, to another brand new episode of the J Rambo 745 Bladed Platoon channel. I did make a video prior to this one about Hanbon Forge Kitanas, and unfortunately, the video did not go the way I planned it. It was a lot longer than what I wanted it to be, and also. I just didn't like the way the room looked. It just looked, I don't know, just not my desired setting. So we're going to do it again for this one, and I'm going to try to make it short as possible, and I'm going to remove politics from the equation because this is a night review channel, and we're going to keep it that way. So I wanted to review the Hanbon Forge Kitanas. I have several in my collection. This is one of them, and this is actually so just a little tidbit about me. I've trained in martial arts for years. I've started when I was 15 in Taekwondo, and then moved on to other systems like Kung Fu, Wing Chun, and Shaolin style. And then I moved on to I went to the Marine Corps and was introduced to McMep. And then one spring afternoon in 2004, the guys from Israel came to my base over in Camp Lejeune, where I was stationed at the time in North Carolina. And they were the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. So if you guys don't know who they are, they're basically the Special Forces of Israel. They're the ones doing all the fighting right now, currently, against the terrorism in Hamas in Israel and Palestine. But I got introduced to Krav Maga because of those guys. And then when I became a civilian again, I started training in Krav Maga, I want to say in 2012, and I've been doing that ever since. And I've had about almost a decade's worth of training in Krav. But I've also trained in other systems as well. I trained in Yaido, and this is a Yaido sword from Hanbon Forge. So, onto the nitty gritty. So, this is the katana from Hanbon Forge that they make, and this is made from T10 steel. And I love the way they make their sayas. Their sayas are just really, really good quality. For the price that you're going to pay at Hanbon Forge, it's actually cheaper than if you would go to a Japanese authentic a website that sells authentic Japanese swords. So I'm going to show you a little bit. So this is the katana. It's got the dragon engraving, and then on the other side, it's got the habaki with the decorated flower there, and it's got the Bushido code in Japanese kanji, and yes, it is Japanese lettering. So these are basically the different virtues of the Bushido code, and I have these in most of my katanas, but I wanted to show that to you guys. And it's got the Suba here, the dragon Suba. Let me flip this to see if you can see it. But one special thing that makes this a Yaido sword from a traditional full functioning sword is that I can rub my finger across the edge and nothing will happen. No cuts. This is an unsharpened blade. This is designed for Yaido training. And most Yaido swords are made from an aluminum zinc alloy. But I don't train with aluminum zinc alloy because they tend to bend. So whenever I'm cutting with the sword, this one doesn't make the sound as much, because it's made from T10 steel, and T10 steel is normally heavy. But if this was made from aluminum, zinc alloy, which is what most traditional Yaido sword would be, you would hear the sound. This one doesn't make it because of the weight that this sword has. But it's, for as heavy as it is, it's very well balanced. So, just to give you a little tidbit about Japanese swords, this one has the, see if I can flip that around, has the fake Hanbon. I actually like this fake Hanbon. Looks really, really cool. It looks almost like the real deal, but it's fake. It's a fake Hanbon. I think they acid etched it or something like that to make it look authentic. On Hanbon Forge's website, it even says, do you want a fake or a real Hanbon? This is fake. But the sword itself, the blade itself is real. It's T10. So what these little what this little dip here is, where I'm pointing at, that's called a bohai. And that, most traditional Japanese martial artists will tell you that that's to wipe the blood off the sword, and that's bullshit. What it really is for, the way swords are designed in Japanese martial arts, is they're designed, for one, it gives you that sound. I don't know if you can hear it over the mic on my cell phone, but it gives you that sound, that sound. This one doesn't make it as good. It makes it, but it's not as good. But that's what it's for, really. And the other reason why it's for is to give it that flexibility of hard and soft on the carbon steel. Normally in a traditional Japanese martial arts sword, katana sword, they're made from two different types of carbon steel. A high carbon steel and a low carbon steel. And the high carbon steel, what that is supposed to do is give your sword a sharpened edge for cutting. Okay, because traditionally, katana swords are designed to cleave one man in half. So kind of think of it as the way the samurai would carry their swords. They had two swords, and I'm about to show you that in a minute. They had the katana, which I have in my hand, and the wakizashi. Samurais were the only ones permitted to carry both swords, wakizashi and katana. That's how they signified rank. It's kind of like how we identify a modern day police officer when they carry a firearm. Their whole principle was a one cut, one kill principle. And the way they would test how sharp these swords are is they would, unfortunately, capture condemned men, criminals mostly, crucify them, and then they would take a swordsmith, have that swordsmith forge the samurai their sword, and then they would sharpen it to a razor sharp edge. The only thing sharper than a katana sword, believe it or not, is the razor blade that you use to shave in the morning. And they would test how many bodies the sword could go through until it needed to be resharpened again. And they would record that number under here, under the suka. So, just to give you a tidbit, so this is called the habaki, this thing right here that I'm pointing at. The guard is called the suba. Again, as I mentioned before, this is called the bohai. The wrapping on the handle of the suka, the whole thing here is called the suka, is called the ito wrapping. I chose blue because blue is one of my favorite colors. The engravings here that you see that I'm pointing at right there and right here are called the manuki. Those are decorative pieces. And what that is designed to do is to hold your ito wrapping even tighter. So if you notice, this does not move. It's not supposed to. Okay? And this bottom part right here is called the koshira. and the Fujiya, which is what I'm putting right here. Those are additional decorative pieces to hold the sword intact and to hold your ito wrapping even tighter, so it doesn't loosen up when you cut. Because over time they tend to loosen up a little bit. I know the Suba for sure has issues with loosening up over time the more you use it. There's a way to retighten that, but I'm going to show you that on a different video on another day. But what holds this entire blade together are two bamboo pegs, two little pegs made from bamboo, called Minuki pins. And you will see one right there, and you'll see another one right underneath here. It's kind of hard to tell but it's right there, and this one's a little low, but it's right there. Those two Minuki pins is what holds this entire sword together. Without that, this thing would fly out and hit somebody. And even though this is not a sharpened sword, the point is very, very sharp. If I thrust this thing at somebody, I could seriously injure someone. So that is this katana, and I'm actually going to show you call out the dimensions on the sword. See if I got the right one. One of the things I like about Hanbon Forge is that they actually now give you kind of like a card. See, it says Hanbon Forge, like this, and it pretty much tells you what the sword is made out of, and the dimensions of the sword, and the specs, basically. One thing I will like to point out is the quality and craftsmanship that they make on the sayas. This saya is incredibly well crafted, and this is one of their cheaper sayas. It's got the dragon engraving on this. It's made from, I want to say, that we're talking about the saya. The saya material is made from hard wood, but it's got a lacquer finish to it, or kind of like a mid-matte lacquer finish to it. And this wrapping right here, I want to talk about this. So, because Hanbon Forge has two versions of this. This is called the Sagyo. And normally what this is designed for is when you untie this, when you're wearing your full, when you're training in Yaido, and you're training in in Yaido or Kinjitsu or Kendo has their own, they train with only bamboo sticks. Or bamboo swords, I should say. Kendo sticks. There you go. In Yaido and Kinjitsu, we train with actual katanas. And we never bang or clash our swords. Yaido is the art of drawing the sword and making movements with it. It's mostly kata. And what the Sagyo is designed for is to wrap your Sagyo cord around your ubi belt and your hakama belt. So the full dress of a Yaido practitioner is the gi and the hakama, that thing that looks like a dress. It's not a dress, it's called a hakama. Men wear it in Japan, in Japanese martial arts like Aikido and Yaido. But I really, really love the way they made this saya. I'm going to give you the specs of the katana, not that we're at it. So the sword number on this particular katana is item number HB, that's Hotel Bravo, Foxtrot, 50016. And the overall length is 104 centimeters. The blade length, so the overall length of this thing, as I just mentioned, from tip to tip, is 104 centimeters. The blade length is 70.1 centimeters. The handle length is 27 centimeters. The blade material is T10 tool steel. In other words, this is a T10 sword. And it is a little heavier than your 1095 high carbon, but I wanted a T10 this time around. The blade thickness is 7.5 millimeters. So if you look at the thickness there, that's how thick it is. The Kisaki length is 3.7 centimeters. The Hanbon is Madare, which is, I guess, Chinese or Japanese, because Hanbon Forge is a Chinese sword forging company from, I want to say they're from Henan, China. I could be wrong. But these guys are well trained in making swords, so they know their stuff. And they test these blades before they even sell them. And they test them on bamboo sticks for tamashigiri cutting if you want your sword sharpened. They didn't have to test this one because I wanted it sharpened for Yaido training. Of course, the Maguki pins, there's two, the bamboo pigs. The Motohaba is 3.2 centimeters. The Sakihaba is 2.2 centimeters. The Saya material, as I mentioned before, is hardwood. The Suba, this thing here, is made from alloy. It's actually copper. The Habaki is made from brass. The Sagyo cord is made from synthetic silk. In other words, it's fake silk. And that's one of the really cool things I like about the Hanbon Forge. They do a really good job now of telling you what you're getting. And I really like this sword. And I've been kind of swinging around with it, but I haven't really trained with it yet. But can't wait to train with it. The one I have been training with all of these years is made from 1095 high carbon steel. And this is this sword bag right here. And another thing is, Hanbon Forge gives you sword bags just like this. They come in different colors, different decorations, but I put a rope on this because the traditional cord that they give you with is not really my thing. I like getting in and out of the dojo, training in Yaido, and me fidgeting around with the traditional cord, it just kind of drives me nuts. This is the katana that I've been training with in Yaido all these years. And let me... By the way, if you guys want me to teach you how to make a wrapping like that, let me know in the link in the description below. Because it is a little tricky. And I normally wrap my katanas like this in the traditional style because I'm just a traditionalist. This is a more lacquer style instead of a matte finish on this saya. This one has the flower decoration. This katana is a little lighter, and this one had my old school's engravings on it. And this one has the tiger engraving as well. I don't know if you can see that. These are the old martial arts codes from my old school. Tiger engraving. The Habaki's also got a flower design. The Suba on this one is a dragon. Let me see if I can. Yeah. Not hitting the camera. Dragon themed sword with some tiger engraving. This one is a little different. This one, if you notice, is a little shinier because I wanted this one mirror polished for Yaido training. So this is a little bit shinier. But if you notice also, the bowhai style on this one is very different. This has got a double bowhai style on this sword. And the reason why I asked it for this way is because I want that that sound. I don't know if you can hear it. And it's really cool when you have a very empty room and there's nobody around and you do that. It's really, really cool. I forgot to mention the bottom part right here is called the Samigawa. I think I called the cord the Samigawa. It's actually called the Sagyo. This is your Sagyo. This is a Samigawa. And what the Samigawa is, and that's underneath the ito wrapping, is a ray skin that they glue onto the wood of your handle, your suka, on your katana. That's just to grip the ito wrapping even further, so it doesn't move around. This one I've had this particular Yaido sword for years, almost 10 years. This is a 10-year-old sword, and the ito wrapping has not moved, not once. The kochira and the fujiya has not moved. The suba, unfortunately, over time will move on you, especially if you train with it. I just recently retightened this, and I took it apart. You can actually find this on Amazon. There's a kit that comes along that not only helps you clean the sword but take it apart. And it's a kit that looks like that. And what comes in this kit is a cotton sheet to clean your sword. It comes with this powdered ball. And yes, these do last you a lifetime. I've had this one for 10 years now. And they also come with, find it, I may not even have it in here. It's been a long time. But they do come with an oil, a little bottle that's got mineral oil in it. Let's see if I can find it. If you don't have mineral oil on hand, your next best bet is to use cutting board oil. I've been using this stuff for years, and it doesn't damage the sword at all. If you can find mineral oil on Amazon, great. But cutting board mineral oil works just as fine. I've never had an issue with it. I've been using that stuff on this sword for years, and I've never had a problem with it. And so this katana, I don't know if you could tell, but it does have a Hanbon on it. May not be able to see it because of the mirror polish, but the Hanbon on this is not as good as the fake one, but it does have it. Okay, if you heard that, that's the reason why I got it in the double bohai style. It's actually more common with your nakinatas, which is your halibut, your Japanese halibut. But I've been training with this particular sword for years in Yaido, also unsharpened. Nothing happened to my fingers. Yeah, I rubbed my finger against the edge of the blade and nothing happened because it's unsharpened. But I also have a set of I have a dasho sword that actually is supposed to go on that mount right there. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the tanto. The tanto, so the Japanese wore 3 different kinds of blades during the feudal age of Japan. And even going into the Tokugawa shogunate, the period of peace, when Japan was no longer at war, Japanese wore 2 swords, as I mentioned before, wakizashi and the katana. But they also carried this little bad boy called the tanto. And it is super tight. I got to be careful how I remove this because unlike my other 2 blades I showed you, this one can cut. This is super, super sharp. But to give you an idea of how all my dasho sights are going to look, This is a tiger engraved Suba. It's got the tiger engraving there, and it's got the Japanese kanji style Bushido code. And it's got the silk, Japanese silk. This is Japanese Ito wrapping with the megugi on both sides and one Menuki pin. And I ordered this one with a black Samigawa ray skin underneath this blade. And yes, this sucker can cut. If you notice the habaki on this, I chose it. So Hanbon Forge has so many ways you can create your blades. The customization is endless. But you know, just to give you an idea what the spine looks like, it's thick here and it gets thinner here. And then, I don't know if you can tell, but it does form a little diamond shape right there. And this one does have an authentic Hanbon. I don't know if you can tell because of the lighting in my room, but it does have an authentic Hanbon. So basically, in traditional Japanese sword making, the idea of the swordsmith was to create something called Tagahagane. Tagahagane process was they would find the best high carbon steels that they could find in the land of Japan. Now, if you do get a Japanese authentic sword, understand that it does take a while for that swordsmith to make that sword for you, because they have to hand forge it. This sword, this tanto, and the wakizashi and katana with it were hand forged. I ordered this thing back in, I want to say February, and I got it just recently in early July. That's how long it took to make these swords, because they're hand forged. They're not manufactured somewhere in a facility and mass produced like a K-bar knife or something like that. They're hand forged. They're like the cookie house knives. Someone had to sit down and take the time to make the sword, polish it, sharpen it, make sure that everything was right. And even though it comes from China, because this is a Hanbon forged sword, they use traditional Japanese methods to make this sword, this tanto. But I really, I'm going to talk a little bit about, this is a lacquered style saya, but look at how cool this looks. That's got to be the sickest thing you've ever seen. That's so cool. And I really like the way they made it. It is sharp. I'm actually going to show you how sharp it is. I can get a sheet of paper. Let me get one sheet of paper. Just one. So, just to give you an example. Look at that. That's the tanto. Okay. And this is rough paper. Just cleaving through this thing like it's nothing. That's how sharp this blade is. And another way you can test how sharp a blade is, take your thumb. Don't press down on the edge of this blade because you will cut yourself. But I normally like to do that. And if it bites, you got a sharp blade. It's the same thing with knives, by the way. Another safer way to do it is you could take your fingernail and do that. And if it bites, that's how you know it's sharp. But this is the tanto. and they really made a really cool design out of this. I really like the way they made this Tanto. Just I've been buying, like I said, I've been buying from Hanbon Forge for years. Never had a problem with those guys. Their communication is great. I communicate through them with email, which is the best way to do it. Now, if you send them an email, don't expect them to respond right away because they are halfway across the world in China. But they will respond to you. All right, just you got to give them a day or two to respond back because they got stuff going on their end, and you're not their only customer. They got several customers online. But yes, their communication is absolutely great. Never had a problem with those guys. They made me all my katana swords that I own are from Hanbon Forge, and I own several. This one being my favorite Dasho set, and again, they come with sword bags like this, and they're just awesome, man. They're great quality. I love them. This is the gold cord that I mentioned that they normally come with, but I replace them with rope because I'm just that way. But because I don't plan on using these swords for training or anything, they're just going to be wall hangers, even though they are functional. They're combat ready and functional. They're just going to be my wall hangers. But this is the wakizashi. As you can see, very well crafted, very well made. Also has the tiger theme on this sword, or wakizashi I should say. And the only thing that I do have a gripe about is that they do come a little tight. But here's this one, and yes, I got this one double bow high. It's got the traditional Hanbon. I don't know if you can see it. I'm losing light, so give me just a second. I hate it when the sun goes down. It's supposed to be sunny, and it's looking like it's going to be a cloudy day, but you can see the Hanbon on it. It's very vague on the video, but it is on there. Trust me. But it is a real Hanbon. This is the wakizashi. And like the Tanto, it's super sharp. I can actually test it. There. It's got that tiger Suba that I like so much. Very, very cool design. They engraved the tiger on this blade and also the Bushido code on this blade as well. This one is not as shiny as my Yaido training sword, but I don't want it to be. I told the forger at Hanbon Forge to make this sword as authentic as you could possibly make it. So I actually have the specs for all three, and I'm about to read them out to you. So for the wakizashi, I think it's this one. So the product number for all three blades is Hotel Bravo Foxtrot 49908 08. The overall length for the wakizashi is 77 centimeters. The blade length is 50 centimeters. The handle length is 20 centimeters. It's made from folded steel. Now, they didn't specify what kind of folded steel, but I'm going to tell you. It's T10. Because I specifically asked for T10 folded steel. That's why it is not as shiny as it's supposed to look like the 1095, because I didn't ask it for a mirror polish. The blade thickness is 0.29 inches. The Kasaki length there is none. The Hanbon on this one is nature, so it means that it's the real thing. It's a real Hanbon. It's got 2 Meguki pins. The Wakizashi has 2 Meguki pins. The Tanto has 1. And the Katana also has 2 Meguki pins, in case you're wondering. The Motohaba is 1.26 inches. The Sakihaba, 0.86 inches. The side is made from hardwood, but it's very beautifully crafted. The Suba material is brass. The Habaki is brass. The genuine silk. They had to import that silk from Japan, believe it or not, to make it. Now I'm going to show you the star attraction of today's sword knife review. And this is the... come on. This is the reason why I don't like the traditional ones, because they're so cumbersome. But here is the Kitana, or Katana. This is it right there. This is the Katana. Look at that. Very well, beautifully crafted. Again, looks just like the Tanto and the Wakizashi in design and looks. I do hate the fact that it comes super. They're hard to get out at first. But this is the Katana. And this Katana, for the size that it is super light, which makes it a very fast drawing sword normally. These are handcrafted engravings on it as well. The Habaki. It's got the tiger design. Let me see if I can do it without actually poking something. It's got the tiger design right there. It's got the cool Fujiya and, of course, the Kocheras right there. This is a battle style wrapping, Ito wrap, as what they call it in Hanbon Forge. This is the Minuki and Mikugi. Double bohai naginata style blood groovings on this. It's got the Hanbon on it. I don't know if you can tell because of the light in my room, so please apologize for that. But it does have it, and it does make that sound. Again, so very well crafted. Look at how thick it is. It starts off thick at the spine, at the base where your Suba is at, and then it thins down just a bit, and then it does that little diamond shape right there. And I gotta be careful because I want to cut myself. It's like a super sharp. But that is pretty much my Dashio set for this sword. I can now call myself a true samurai, because I now have all 3 blades to prove to the world that I am a samurai class. But again, those swords are from Hanbon Forge. Let me know in the link down below. I'll provide the link for hanbonforge.com down below on the description. Let me know what you guys think of these swords. If you guys are asking about the wall hanger there, you can get this on Amazon. 20 bucks. Super cheap. So again, my apologies. I had to redo this video because the last video I got off topic a little bit, and I don't want to be that way with you guys, because, you know, This is specifically supposed to be a knife sword review, and I'm going to keep it that way. We leave outside interferences like politics. If you want to hear about politics, there are plenty of other YouTube channels that discuss that topic. Go check those guys out. I'm going to leave that off the grid here. I'm only going to talk about knives and swords, and I'll keep it that way, out of respect for your political preferences, because I don't want to present myself as a douchebag with you guys. You choose, you vote for who you choose. It's your God-given right. So I'll keep it at that. But other than that, I will see if I can make another video soon. I also do have the D-Bad. I'll show you. Yeah, come here. You're going to love this one when I do a review for it. I do have the D-Bad Predator knife. And it is a beast. I will review that sometime in the coming weekend. For those of you who have been asking where I've been, and yes, I have. I noticed I have been on a hiatus. Life, school, hurricanes. I do live in Houston, Texas, so we just came off of a hurricane last weekend. I just got power back in this house. I had to throw away so much food. So it's been a crazy month this July. And not to mention that I also have my obligations with the Texas State Guard. But other than that, thank you for tuning in. Check out for more knife reviews because they are coming. I'll try to get them out as best as I can. And just let me know in the link down below what you guys think of the Hanbon forges, and I'll put the link below to check out their website. And with that being said, this has been another episode of the J Rambo 745 Bladed Platoon channel. You guys have a blessed day. Stay safe. God bless America. Long live the Republic.